So in this class about the actual mixing boards, what we're going to be covering today are cables. So the cables that we're going to be interacting with. So this video specifically just covers that one purpose, and that's getting familiar with the actual cables. So let's cover up the mixing board with our project plank here. There you go. This is the plank I use for doing projects on. So if we look at the first cable that you're going to use the majority of the time, as much as possible, it's going to be an XLR cable. Now on this mixing board, all the input channels that are XLR are all mic input channels. So that means everything that comes in on XLRs are going to be microphones. And that's a standard connection. You got a mixing board, you got XLR inputs, they are mic inputs. So that's what's going on here. Now on the back side, there's also the output, the main out. The main out's also XLR to give you a good solid quality connection that's balanced, and that's going to be running to your amp or straight to your speakers. Now the other cables you're going to use quite a lot, and that's for all the line inputs. That's to get all your instruments, everything else plugged into the board. And that's going to be 1/4 inch cables. Now you can get them either as an unbalanced, so a tip and a sleeve, or as a balanced connection, tip, ring, and sleeve. Depending on what you're hooking up, depends on which cable you're going to need. If you're doing a bunch of short runs and this is what you've got, you're okay. Whenever possible, this is going to be your best quality connection. This is going to be your balanced connection. It's how you're going to prevent any type of humming or buzzing sounds that may come into play because of what you've hooked up to it. So those three cables, referring to the 2/4 inch and the XLR cable, may cover, let's say, 70% of all your cable needs. They're definitely not going to cover 100%. You will on occasion, depending on what you're hooking up and how you're hooking it up, need to utilize XLR male to 1/4 inch or XLR female to 1/4 inch. So let's say I need to plug in from a keyboard that has a XLR output. I may decide to switch that because I'm going to need to have it go in via 1/4 inch in this particular case. And that 1/4 inch is going to have to be either balanced or unbalanced depending on how long and what cables I have in stock. All the cables we've seen so far will get us hooked up to all of our instruments that require them, either via microphone or via main outputs on keyboards, electric drums, that sort of thing. It's also going to give us all our mic inputs, of course, and it's going to allow us to have any combination setups that we need to get out to our amplifiers or powered speakers. Those cables will do the job. Any combination that makes sense, that works with your board and the configuration that you need to hook it up. Now, if you're doing any special work and you need to hook other things up, this is a cable that's being used for insert. It basically gives us a tip ring sleeve that's divided into two separate cables. We're now going to have a return and a send. This is to go to an effects box. This particular mixer offers insert options, which is what we're going to use this cable for. And again, this is basically a balanced cable to two unbalanced cable, a stereo to two mono connections. And this is wired properly, so this way it works for this configuration. So on the counter right now, we have 3 RCA style cables. Depending on what we're going to be hooking it up to, we may need these cables. We may not use them at all, but if we do plan on using them specifically as a send return option through the track options, this would be instead of using the built-in audio interface. Sometimes you have an external recorder, a DAT machine, something that's already there, and you want to actually use it. You can use these options here to make that happen. Now, they're always going to be unbalanced because, of course, RCA plugs are naturally unbalanced. They basically only have a ground return and a positive. So on the first cable, it's going to be always set up as a standard 1/4 inch unbalanced connection, tip and sleeve, and RCA is the other end. Here we have full-on RCA to RCA, and here we have RCA to XLR. Again, make sure you're using the proper cable to do the proper job. This is not the way that you hook it up to your home theater surround sound system, is by using the RCA plugs out of this unit and plugging into that. This is not going to work for that. That is not its purpose in life. These are adapters. Adapters are always good if you're going out and about because you never know what special situation or scenario you may run into. So it's always good to have a pencil case full of assorted adapters. I'm trying to avoid using adapters on a permanent connection, but definitely if you show up somewhere, you want to be able to take the cables you have and make them work with the space you're in. And in that case, adapters are what's going to be your actual problem solver. And it's always nice to have a bunch of these kicking around. They come in all different formats. Have at least 2 to 4 or 6 of each one. And you know what? You're not going to run into something where you're going to go, God, I wish I had that cable, or I wish I had that connector. You'll have it all with you. So we're going to do one actual test with the mixing board, with the cable. We're not going to hook up a microphone or anything to it. What we are going to do is show what happens when you don't use a cable, but yet you've plugged one in. So we're going to actually run a test on a cable. A lot of people, how good are cables? How much should I invest? What should I spend on my cables? What should it really be? So I'm going to plug this cable into here. Not plugged in anything. We have it connected right here on channel number 7. Everything's set normal. I do have the gains up high and I do have the levels up high because we want to exaggerate this as much as possible. This mixer is hooked up into our actual other Mackie mixer, which is being used as the audio interface today for the computer to record this program. All I need to do, I'm going to leave my main out. I'm going to take the mute off of here and we're going to hear a difference. And there you go. So now we have this microphone, which is hooked up to the Mackie. But more importantly, this cable is now live on this line. We'll know that because we're going to see these meters all of a sudden start to jump. And you're also going to hear as I pick up this cable. Now understand, there's nothing here. I am holding this cable in my hand and I'm tapping it. All that background noise is just cable. I'm even going to go as far as muting my actual microphone here for a moment, and we're going to start tapping on this cable. It's that noticeable. It's noticeable right up to the point of when I plug a microphone into it. So now I'm going to plug a mic in here. Watch this. So we're going to go from a noisy cable. We're going to plug the mic in. Now we've closed the circuit on this line. So now we're going to take the mute off. We're going to mute my microphone just to make sure everything is clean and clear. Bring my microphone back into play, and there we go. So if you're curious to find out if this microphone is actually working, we're going to turn this mic on now. And here we are. We're going to be talking on that one. I will mute the second one away. And there we go. So this is the actual microphone I'm talking to on now. And I can simply just mute this mic here just by pressing this button here. And so there we go for this video. This video was all about the cables. That's what we're wrapping up with on here. The actual do not leave your cables plugged in unless they're actually being used. Mute your channels or disconnect the cables. That's the most important thing you can do when it comes to using all these cables. 1/4 inch, XLR, doesn't matter which one you're using. If you don't need it, don't have it on the board. And if you do have to have it on the board because you do use it off and on, definitely remember where those mute buttons are. So now that we know all the cables we're going to need to use, we can put that to work. And on our next video, that's what it's all about. Hooking up all the speakers. So we got our main speakers, our control room speakers, and our stage monitor speakers. That's what the next video is going to be about, showing how that all interacts on the board. I'd also like to say thanks for watching. Hope to see you in the next video. Bye for now.